we are on Baden's mighty bridge pool. I love it down here. The fish are definitely the most beautiful on the complex. You've got scaly bangers in here, lovely long lean commons, dumpy ones. It's a real Willy Wonka's mixed bag of chocolate. Some absolute treasures in here, and because of the clear water, the fish look absolutely mint. It's one of the lakes that I've fished the most in the last couple of years. I really enjoy it down here, and it's a very tricky venue as well. These fish, they're used to having quiet spells, they're used to having the rule of the roost. They know this venue inside out. So let's talk about how to approach the bridge pool and catch some beautiful scaly whackers. As we've done with a lot of the other videos about Baden, I'm going to talk to you about how to approach the venues at different times of the year. And the bridge pool is just like the other specimen lakes, where the tactics that you need to employ to catch a few fish will change as the weather changes. So we start in the springtime. These fish, they kind of wake up very slowly from the winter. It's quite a good average depth on the bridge. You're looking at an average depth of about 8 to 9 feet. Most of the lake's quite deep. So they wake up a little bit later than the other lakes, but it gives you some fantastic chances. Fishing with bright single hook baits, quite big baits. Sometimes you can fish with a 16, 18 mil pop-up, whatever you're confident with. That cast that's showing fish is probably the best way to catch them down here in the spring. And of course, don't forget those zig rigs. Summertime here on the bridge pool, things start to change. The fish are a lot more nomadic and they move very, very quickly on new winds. If you can get on the end of the wind in the summer, you're sure to find a few bridge pool bangers jumping around in the waves. Margin fishing is a really, really great approach in the summer. You can fish right underneath your rod tips, and you want to try and find nice, clean, sandy areas, so nice, even bottom, a perfect way to lay a trap and catch one of those fish that's just cruising around away from the main pack. Of course, you can catch them over bait in the summer, and baiting up from the far margin is probably your best bet. When they're patrolling that far margin, moving away from the pressure, go around the other side, catapult a little bit of bait in. Good way of catching them. They like yellow in here. I've caught really well in the summer on things like sweet corn, yellow boilies mixed in amongst my fish meal boilies, and oil. Like I said, you've got an average depth on the bridge. These fish spend a lot of time mid-water, and you can't always see them where they are. They might be in 10 foot of water and they're fishing sort of 5 feet down. It's a bit late in the year for the zigs and things to kind of wise up to that a little bit. So putting a bit of oil in your mix, whether it be oily hemp, oily pellets, oiling up your boilies before you put them in, a great summer tactic here on the bridge. In the autumn, down here on the bridge, great time to catch multiple fish. They get really bundled together and they'll move around in big packs of fish, as opposed to in the summer where they're quite spread out. If you can get on those fish in the autumn, there's some great hits to be had, just throwing sticking boilies, and again just fishing those bright singles cast at showing fish. Autumn on the bridge pool, really special time, nice and tree lined all along the far side, beautiful leaves. It looks fantastic down here and the fish will be looking at their best. Winter on the bridge pool, it can be tricky, but the rewards are there for he who dares. That nice depth of water means that it takes quite a long time for the bridge to cool down. So you've got good fishing opportunities all the way up right into the depths of winter. And even when it does drop cold, the sun will be penetrating through that clear water and getting these fish active. Now, in my experience, most of the winter fish have come on small little spotted areas. So tiny little areas of bait, fishing with a rod as accurate as you can. Of course, naturals play their part. You've got to look at bright baits like maize and sweet corn, and don't forget the pellet. These fish see pellet all the way through the year. They absolutely love it, and a low oil pellet in the winter down on the bridge can really be the key to unlocking some cold water secrets. So let's just go through the pegs down here on the bridge, sort of one by one. I'm going to help you with your swim selection before you come down the lake by telling you which way the wind blows. It's good to have a look on Google Maps. Just get yourself orientated with the lake, have a look at the weather, because these fish really do like the wind. Pegs 1 and 2, even 3, you're going to have a kind of northerly wind. If it's blowing down that end of the lake, the fish are sure to follow it. You've got a nice depth of water in front of peg 1, a little bit deeper there, 8-9 foot, and as you come across into 2 and 3, it shallows up even more. The far margin, of course, is a lot shallower than the rest of the lake. As you come into 4 and 5, the lake gets a lot wider here. It's a long old cast to the far margin. You're talking well over 100 yards, maybe even 130 yards to get right over the back of peg 5. It's a long old cast, but it's worth it sometimes. Opposite peg 4 and 5, you've got a little corner swim of reeds, and it creates this little bay area that we call the ramp. The fish really do like it in there, especially on a bright sunny day like today. A great area. Again, come round on the far margin and have a look for yourself. See what you can see. As you come down from there, peg 6 and 7 are a double swim, great for a social. Lovely load of water in front of it. You've got some nice sandy humps out in the middle of the lake that are worth looking for, especially if you've got a westerly wind. Now, a westerly wind will literally blow straight at the pegs on that bank. So pegs 4, 5, 6, 7 will have the westerly wind absolutely howling into them, and like I say, the fish will come really close in. With the marginal shelf, it drops off really quickly and it comes back up again onto nice sandy ground. Loads of clear spots. Have a cast around with a marker float, you're sure to find some belting ground to present your bait. And then of course, a big southerly, the wind that the carp love the most, blows down into pegs 8 and 9. Obviously peg 8A, for the most part, just catches the easterly wind. So it's not the greatest wind in the winter, but it can be fantastic with a nice cool breeze blowing in your face in the summer. This end of the lake, the higher numbered pegs, it is a little bit deeper out in the open water, but it's shallower in the edges and shallower on the right hand side of peg 10, where you've got nobody up that bank on the right hand side. The fish do get in there and they really like that siltier water down at that end of the lake. It is a bit siltier in front of peg 9 and 10 as opposed to the other end of the lake, which is a lot sandier. Loads of swims, loads of water to choose from in every peg. Come down here on the bridge, you're sure not to be disappointed. As you can see, I'm round here on the far margin of the bridge. Now, when you come down here, you've got to come round to the far side, build a picture of your swim from both sides of the lake. I can see fish here that I can't see from the other side. I can see clear spots that I can't see from the other side. And it's not that far of a cast. I know within 30 yards of the bank, there's always a nice, clean, sandy strip in front of most of the swims. Coming around here with a marker float is a good way, again, of just mapping your swim out, building a bit of a picture of what's down there. A really good tip here on the bridge pool is not to use round baits. The lake bed, especially the far margin, but also out in the lake, you've got lots of gentle undulations and you think, oh, it's relatively flat out there, but have a good cast around with the marker float. You'll find you've got 6 foot here and 2 rod lengths to the left, 7 foot there, 2 rod lengths to the left, 6 foot again. Now those gentle slopes, your baits will just roll straight off. So what I suggest you do, if any boilies you feed, just give them a squeeze. Think about baits that aren't going to roll down the slope when you're baiting up with either your bait boat or the spom. It can make a massive difference to being very accurate with your baiting presentation. Well, here we are on Baden's bridge pool. Put a bit of bait on the far margin. It's rattled off. This is the second fish of the morning. Well, this is why we come down to Baden Bridge Pool. Look at that. For Staffordshire gem, what a fish. There are a lot of fully scales in here, including some absolute giants. This 21 pounder cut over a little bit of bait on the far side on a yellow hook bait. So for this trip I've kept things really simple. I've let the fish tell me where to put the rods. I haven't put much bait out. I put a little bit of bait on the far side, and then I put a little bit more after watching their patrol route from that far side. They were dipping down in a particular area, so I decided to give them a good kilo of boilies and a couple of tins of corn. My hook bait's over the top. I really want to draw attention to my hook bait, so that's been boosted with liquid lava. Absolutely awesome down here, this stuff. Something sweet and fruity really draws them down to your hook bait to get bites quicker when you're down on the bridge. We come down to Baden for the gold, and in the bridge pool there's plenty of that. Second fish of the morning. What a treasure.